After I relocated out of state to a fairly tiny town, I met a neighbor who was walking his dog on my first day there. He greeted me and introduced himself, which gave me a short overview of the neighborhood, which is full with tweakers and other sketchy characters. Took that as a general warning that, a few months later, it could be all I have to deal with. He asked me to his house to learn how to do some woodworking while we're creating a show for my cat to sit on. He started asking me questions, which were just regular inquiries without turning around. After we finished installing the shelf, he met my mom, who resides with me, and they had a brief conversation. I realized at that point that he was attempting to find out information from me, like why I had moved here from out of state, who lives with me, and whether I had any other family in the state or region. Then while we were walking back to his apartment, he began to tell me that he could see our garden from there. Before I can question him, he asked me if I want to see more of the town. I say, yeah, let's go. He walks out to his car, takes something out of the middle compartment, and tells me to get in his pickup truck. He sees that I don't go outside much with my dogs, so he told me not to worry, that if someone breaks into warplanes that he can see through and shoot them from his room. I follow along, and as he fills the petrol tanker with petrol, he walks over to the driver's side and opens the door. He drops a holster between us, telling me not to worry about it as I peer to see if there's a gun between us. As we drive, I notice that he hasn't spoken for 5 minutes, and he seems to enjoy hearing his own voice. I also observe that we're on a dirt road, and that it's been a long since I've seen a home trailer or car. I think I gave off some nervous feelings. After about 10 minutes of silent driving, he abruptly says, yeah, unless you know where you're going out here, you'll get lost, and it's best to have a pickup or ATV to drive out to you. Fortunately, there was another truck there, and he says, oh, look at that. Someone else is here with us. He then gets out, and we both see a woman with a large dog playing in the water. She turns to face us when she sees him approaching, gestures to his holster, and he assures her that it's for the snakes. She had left her shirt above her waist to show her God, and she told him she wasn't worried. They talked for a few minutes. The neighbor's tone and posture changed from confident to defensive as she called her dog, and they went to their truck. He was watching, and she hadn't started her truck yet, so a few minutes went by, and he told me it was time to go too. When we got to his truck, she drove off. I started to feel uneasy and creeped out. Why would he take me all the way out there and simply lie there, telling me not to worry about the holstered pistol and to tell the lady what it's for? I told him my life story and eventually broke the stillness, telling him why I relocated. Replies that he can connect with my situation and gives me an overview of the town's characteristics, warning me to keep an eye out for racists. When we return to his house, I tell him I have things to take care of at home, and I knock the hell out of there, thinking to myself that if I'm ever going to hang out with him again, it won't be alone. This was back in 2009. I'm an 18-year-old student in culinary school. Our program has an underground parking lot attached to a lounge behind the cafeteria. Couples like going there because it's always empty and partly dark, but I detested it because it had a back door leading to the poorly lighted parking lot, where there was hardly any vehicles. I found this unsettling, and since it was a horror, I felt that this was a disaster waiting to happen. In any case, after class one day, this stranger approaches me almost aggressively, as if I had my knife out and prepared to defend myself. He stops and hands me a paper that says, "Meet me in the lounge." I look at him bewildered, wondering if it was my boyfriend, someone from the culinary program, or perhaps a high school friend. He shakes his head to no response, and claims he doesn't understand, but I ought to leave. I ask him to describe this person's appearance, but he won't answer. I chuckle tensely, but the note in my pocket, and pass this child on my way to class. He begins to follow me and asks me if I'm going. I attempt to ignore him and go to the library to enter a public area. He follows and tries to convince me that I should attend because it's my destiny or something. Along those lines, I give him a fierce look and quicken my pace as I try to make my way to the cafeteria below, in the hopes of running into a classmate and losing the child who is running at the same speed as me and telling me he doesn't understand. Why I'm not going. I tell them because I don't want to now go away, and I hacked into the cafeteria by now. He's really creeping me out. I grab from my phone to call the police, but instead see a classmate and run towards it. The kid follows me, pointing towards where the lounge is and telling me I'm going the wrong way. I instantly panic and tell my classmate what's going on. He approaches the kid and tells him to leave me alone, that I have a boyfriend and I'm not interested. The kid tells me that they're waiting for me in the lounge and not to take too long. His words just gave me chills. My classmate walks me to our student restaurant and asks for some others to come with us. 3 of my other colleagues come with us to the lounge. There's no one there. I get freaked out and decide I need to go home. They walk me through the campus to the parking lot, or I can call my parents to get a ride. One of the others stays with me, while the classmate who defended me goes to report the behavior to our teachers, who use the lounge as a secondary office. Sometimes he then comes back to tell me that they're going to investigate and keep an eye out for suspicious activity, or that kid, and a few days later I learned that a girl had been assaulted in that area. After parking there during finals and entering through the lounge, the school newspaper had reported it, but there were no details as to who had done it to her, so I felt my stomach dropped, hoping that the girl was okay and hoping that those people were caught. I reported my incident to the newspaper T, but they claimed she never dealt with anything. Sometimes he then comes back to tell me that they're going to investigate and keep an eye out for suspicious activity, or that kid. Like a note, I never located the suspects, and my mother is happy that I followed my instincts and decided not to go. The thought of it still gives me a chill. I can't stop thinking about why me if they were after money. I was so poor that I had to live off of sesame crackers donated by classmates. I'm just glad the girl is okay, and then I listened to my God who knows what would have happened. The girl recovered and went with a few minor injuries. They never found the attackers, and I never saw that strange kid again.